Hey folks, Jake from Pod Casty For Me here. This is a preview of a bonus episode from our Patreon feed, Paid Costly For Me. If you like this and you want to hear more, you can head on over to patreon.com/podcastyforme, where for $5 a month, you can get a new bonus episode every other week. That's patreon.com/podcastyforme. Enjoy!
Look, it's time to pull the trigger.
Okay.
I watched this film when it came out in the theater, and I was, I think, confused and impressed by it. Like, aesthetically, I was impressed by it. Thematically, I was sort of confused and erred on the side of, well, I think that was good. This time I watched it, and I'm fucking pissed off. I got really mad at the movie this time, and doing some podcasting for me style research made me even angrier. And I feel about the movie the same way that I feel about Kundun, which is that it is like an aesthetic masterclass in arguing like something a 14-year-old would believe. Like a very limited understanding of a situation. And we can, like, I'm excited to talk about it. I'm not mad at either of you. I want you guys to know I'm very happy to be here. But I think Marty's off on this one. I'm mad at I walked away from this movie saying, you know, I would have argued that all religious persecution was bad prior to this viewing, and now I think in certain situations religious persecution is okay.
Wow. In the words of Sebastian, you're a bad Jesuit, my friend. I don't know what you're talking about. This is like incomprehensible to me.
I would love to be a bad Jesuit because I learned about a number of different slave trades that they were involved in. So let's get into it, man. Let's talk about it. Where should we start?
Well, I would like to talk about Kichijiro because he didn't come up in your summary, and I think he's like he's a
crucial part of
the film.
First of all, Kichijiro, I gotta say, I'm learning some things about Yosuke Kubozuka, who plays him. He's an actor and musician, and he appeared in a music video for a boy band called Mr. Children.
Okay.
In 2002.
Right. Yeah.
And it was they lost a Japanese MTV award to the Backstreet Boys. And then there's also a really, oh my God. Okay, he's been pursuing his career as a reggae musician by the name Manji Line, which is stylized as Buddhist swastika line.
Interesting.
Since 2006.
Okay.
And this is just a couple of lines from his personal life section. He married a non-celebrity woman in May 2003 and had one son. Happens to a lot of people, actually.
Yeah.
And then in 2004, he survived after falling 26 meters from his 9th floor apartment.
Whoa, that's really far. Okay.
And also, I just want to add that he's very handsome in the film. Really beautiful, beautiful man. Handsome. So, Ian, tell us about Kichijiro, the Kichijiro character.
So this character, he appears very, very early on when the two leads are in Macau and they're trying to get to Japan, and they're looking for somebody who will bring them over because at this point, as you established, Jake, this is like deep into the persecution of Christians, and it was forbidden to bring in any missionaries of any kind. So they can't get anybody. So the Chinese contacts in Macau find this drunk Japanese guy who they believe wants to go back to Japan, which is Kichijiro, and he takes them, and they get the set. He vehemently denies being a Christian for sort of obvious political endangerment reasons. And then when they get to Japan, they're sort of surprised that he is around and comes to mass and leads them to his island, sort of or has brought some people from his island who are Christians and wants, confession and ministry and stuff.
The Goto Islands.
The Goto Islands, which are
they still house a specific type of Japanese crypto-Christian today. There's a special sort of Creole Christianity that evolved there.
Kakure Kurishitans, I think are the people who survived there. Yeah, so he brings them, but his main role in the film, his sort of, I think, incredible role in the film is that he keeps betraying the Christians, and he has a flashback to when his family was brought before the Inquisitor, and his family refused to trample on the image of Christ, and he trampled and watched his family get burned, and he reports the priests, and he literally delivers Sebastian to the Inquisitor, not for money, but seemingly just to like save himself again and again. There's sort of like infinite rounds of him making a mistake, asking for absolution, Sebastian at different stages of his own intellectual development sort of having to decide like how forgiving he feels. First, he feels like very connected to this guy returning to the faith and says like, the person who needed me the most was Kichijiro. Like he clearly felt so bad about his family.
I'm excited that this is I can minister to this person. This is like the kind of thing I got into this game
I mean, one of the I'm going to jump in early to defend the film and say one of the things I think it does beautifully is sort of like question the ego of these guys and like their motivations for being there. And so to me, it's one of those moments where he's like, man, I'm like doing Christ stuff, you know, like this is like, look at this like piece of shit. I'm going to really forgive the hell out of him. And then he's really like does a 180 when Kichijiro betrays them later. And I think we see him like tested in the sense of like what he's asking questions about Christianity that people have asked for thousands of years, which is like, what does it mean to have a religion that forgives everybody, like gives you a free pass again and again?
Catholic life hack.
Exactly. Yeah, it's literally what I wrote in my notes was infinite absolution hack. Yeah. So, I mean, and then I think the film later is sort of like, I think comes to a more interesting synthesis point where he is forgiving Kichijiro, knowing that he will do this again. And I think to me, the stuff that makes it potent is this question of like, I am not a Christian anymore, but I was raised Christian. And like the pieces that are preserved in me that are of interest are like, what does it mean to recognize that people will fail and still want to forgive them? Is that like a permission structure, or is that something that acknowledges something like fundamental to humans and their, misdeeds, and whether there's something beautiful in that? I don't know. Rob, what do you think about Kichijiro?
Yeah, I mean, so I was trying to read other endos around like this episode. I'd read Silence years ago, and I've read some of his other novels, which I'm up and down on. But I read a story of his called Unzen, which is Unzen, which is like a story that I don't know if it was written before Silence, but it was published after the book was published. And Unzen,
that's the mountain, right?
Yes, it's the Valley of Hell where they were. Priests and other Christians were tortured. And there's it follows this character who seems, like a bit of an endo stand-in or whatever, who is on like a rainy winter day trying to visit Unzen on like a tour. And, he is talking about these different people that he has found in the historical record. And one of them is during this like particular persecution of several priests and other people at Unzen. There's a person who appears briefly in the historical record named Kichijiro, who is a man who is following behind the procession the whole time, and he keeps basically like approaching and withdrawing and approaching and withdrawing, and in the end, when they're burned to death, he sort of like throws himself in front of them. Like he has tried to talk to these people and they've been spurning him, and then when he throws himself in front of them as if like to perhaps to enter, to be sacrificed as well, he gets grabbed and they're like, "Are you a Christian too?" And he's like, "No, I'm not. What are you talking about? No, I'm not." And the narrator is talking about how like I've been trying to find these figures like within Japanese Christianity that I myself as like a Japanese Christian would identify with. And here is like the weak man who speaks to who I am. And like, this is the version of faith that I myself can identify with, is this weak person who basically like withdraws every time he is pushed.
Want to hear the rest of the episode? Go to patreon.com/podcasty4me and sign up for just $5 a month. We're sorry we do this.